Welcome back to day 2 of Doodle Therapy with our special guest, Nick Slater. It's great to see everyone. Thanks for joining us if you're watching us live. If you're new to Doodle Therapy, welcome. My name is Alice. I'm an illustrator and a muralist, as well as the host of this show here on Adobe Live. And basically, this is a friendly little corner of the internet where our goals are to doodle, chill, talk about random things in life, hang out, and make new friends. So please join me in welcoming our special guest, Nick Slater. Hey, Nick.
Hi, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever y'all are at.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. If you are tuning in live, let's get a roll call going. So please feel free to introduce yourself, say your name in the chat, where you're joining us from. And our random question of the day, I would like to hear some dad jokes. So if you've got a good dad joke or mom joke, just a funny, just terrible pun-based joke, please feel free to say it in the chat and we will get a couple of laughs in. So I want to hear your best dad jokes. So sorry about that. That is my dog. So basically, the way the Doodle Therapy works is every week we have a different theme. So this week, we are going to be, talking about landscapes. And Nick and I have already started painting some landscapes, so we're really excited to dive in. I actually also received a couple of submissions as well for landscapes. So thanks to everyone for joining along and drawing. Let's jump into it. Nick, I've got some of your beautiful landscape work above you in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, above you in the stream, kind of above your head. Do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? Who you are?
Yeah, I would love to tell.
What your story is?
Yeah. I'm Nick. I'm an illustrator by day and night. I really love just making all kinds of types of works. It doesn't matter if it's, spot illustrations, landscapes, patternry. I also like dabbling in lettering and also traditional graphic design, although I do think there's other people that are way better than me in that. So I try to stay in my lane of things I feel comfortable at.
You're so good. Don't undersell yourself.
Sometimes. I like to think that I'm a reflection of people I used to work with or work with that have really pushed me and helped hone my craft. So obviously I feel like I owe a lot of my success to folks that I get to interact on a daily basis. So I redrew my illustration. I did a sketch and I redrew it last night. So hopefully it's a little bit of a different change from the direction from yesterday. So hopefully no one's too surprised. But I'm still very early on in the process, and hopefully today I get to do a little bit more updates and refinement to it. So
we will.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, totally. I'm so excited to jump in, and maybe we could also, if you have your sketch up somewhere in your file, we could take a look at that too and just kind of see how you evolve things. I feel like you get to learn so much about someone's process just by observing them and looking at their file at various points in the process. I want to say hi to everyone joining us, to Bev, Lisa from Missouri. Angela says, hey, Nick, Angela Cava. Bev is joining us from Mexico, Paula from the UK. And Angela is joining us from Canada. Shauna asks, when is the best time to go to the dentist?
I think there's...
Tooth hurty.
I think there's never... Oh, that's a dad joke? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Nada, thanks for joining us from Seattle. Was also in the chat yesterday. Steven says the dog definitely wanted to get in on the stream. Lindsay, Brittany, Christina, Koji, Celine from New Zealand. Welcome everyone. It's great to see you here. Once again, open for dad jokes. If you've got a good one, please feel free to join it. I'll add one. Did you guys hear about the joke about the broken pencil? Never mind, it's pointless.
Oh God. I got one. It's pretty bad. what did the Australians say to the Cyclops? Guy, Mike.
Ahoy. Okay. Wait. Oh, good eye, mate.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's so bad. It's my favorite. I always get booed for it, but whatever. I love it. It's bad.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank
Shauna
you.
says a man walks into a bar and says, ow. So that's so, it's possible we've already met some of y'all's, dad joke capacities for the day. But if you've got some more dad jokes, keep them coming and I'll share on the chat. So Nick, we are taking a look at our landscapes. Do you mind sharing, this is your sketch, in what your process has been like, where you are now? When you look at the piece, what are you going to tackle next? What do you see?
Oh God, I'm gonna try to be strategic in what I want to focus on. We'll see how far my focus, because I tend to bounce around a lot. I go to one corner and the other corner, but I redrew my sketch just to have a little bit more depth and composition, and I still kind of approached it as I did yesterday. And so, for example, like when I shared the full piece, what I did was I started with the background, laying down the color, and then from there, then I started building these different layers. So like I have the mountains, and then on top of the clouds, and then another mountain range, followed by another mountain range. So I get a contrast of color, and then the next would be like the barn with the silo, and then as you get farther in or closer into the foreground, that's when you would have like the trees and the rocks and everything else. So that's where I'm at right now. And so from last night to today, this is how far I've got. But I'm hoping maybe we'll make some more progress today. But yeah,
looks really impressive.
We'll see. But thank you, though. I appreciate that.
So if you've got questions for Nick about his process, especially if you watched yesterday, but anyone is welcome. If you want to know, like, how did you approach, the composition, or how did you approach this sort of thing, feel free to ask. My question to you, Nick, is how do you usually approach like color in this early stage? Are these colors final, or do you go back at the end and then like tweak things, or are you tweaking things as you go?
Yeah, so when I think about this, I think about like a kind of like a step. So I'll have like my darkest color, which would be like this black.
Yeah.
And then I would go to my medium color, which is this red, and then my lightest color would be say like this like light taupe. And then from there, then I kind of like fill in the pieces in between. So either I'll do a blend and create like a unique color palette. So if it's, this color and then say it's this color, then I would use colors in between that. And that's how I kind of developed that. And then if they don't feel quite right, then I'll use the tool up here to manually adjust it with the color tool. And then I'll just tweak it this way. Yeah, so we went over a little bit yesterday.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, cool. Okay, so you're doing like a global adjustment.
Yeah, and just because this look, the way it looks right now, it could possibly change to either more vivid colors, or maybe more muted or monochromatic. But really, I use like the initial stages to kind of like lay down like the depth and the composition and the structure of the illustration. And then at the very end, that's when I start adding like all the fine embellishments, like the gradients, textures, and then color adjustments that way. Because then I already have all the other, I guess the other parts of the equation figured out. Hopefully.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's how I approach it.
That is so impressive. Thanks, Nick. I think it's funny that you say, like, I think earlier in the chat, earlier pre-stream, you were saying that you didn't feel like you had made a lot of progress, but I think you've made quite a bit of progress. It looks very far along. So thanks for sharing with us.
Well, like how I said earlier, like you definitely had the bar so high that I at least needed to come in.
Your bar is extremely high, so thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I very rarely work in vector, so it's really cool to see how you layer things. And actually, I would have thought that you had just drawn this in Photoshop, because just to me, that's that seems like the easier approach. But then obviously it's different for different people. So Yeah. So
You
now,
know,
oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, so as I was saying, now what is your focus for the day? Or like when you look at this, what do you think of as your like next steps or things to focus on?
I think the big thing was like refine the highlights on the clouds, just so like you don't have so much of this it gets lost. So there's a little bit of some
Okay.
depth.
Oh, okay.
I'll probably add tree lines to this mountain and then start like making it feel like it has a little more weight, like it's a little bit more farther out. I mean, it'd probably be great if I did some atmospheric perspective, but I'm not gonna get too realistic about it. I'm not making a painting. And then once I feel comfortable with that,
like a painting.
Yeah, kind of. And then I'll go in and I'll start adding more refinements on the barn, and then start adding more embellishments in the foreground. So like more gradients, line work, and then structures on the tree. And then I like to hide little Easter eggs in my illustrations. Yeah.
Oh,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, are you thinking about adding in a character? How do you usually approach that? Do you plan that in the beginning, or do you add it in, at the end?
I kind of added it in. I was trying to draw a horse earlier, but it was so hard and I gave up.
Horses are like really hard, especially horse like hind legs are like super. They're like that.
Yeah. I was just like, the horse I made didn't feel like, it didn't feel right. And so I'm gonna adjust that later. I might add like some little birds here and there. So little things, maybe hay bales and stuff like that. I don't know.
Hay bales, I'm seeing some questions in the chat. I think Jessica had asked a question about how Nick established the palace on the left. So I believe we went over this a little bit yesterday too. So if you want more in-depth look, you can check that out on day 1. But Nick has basically created gradients. He's like picking from the gradients. And Celine says that they like the palette of colors. So I'll also give a quick overview of where I'm at. So if you watched yesterday, you may have seen I was very excitedly sharing this project that I'm like so psyched about. I started designing this like keyboard keycap set that I would just like to see in the world. And I think I might actually try to like make this a thing and like bring this product to market. So it's basically a gradient keyboard. It's like, imagine this is my keyboard now, just like white. Imagine if it's like a gradient with like these celestial animals, on there. So it has kind of like this lunar celestial sea kind of theme. And I want to make a desk mat that basically can go on my desk and go underneath the keyboard. So for example, here I've just dropped in a mock of my keyboard. And so, that's kind of what it would look like on my desk. And so I'm using that initial illustration as the base for my color palettes. But of course I'm deviating a little bit because, it's very limited. And that's how I'm constructing it. And so I haven't thought too much about where I want my character to be. I'm realizing it might be kind of hard because the way I've drawn it, like the perspective is like of buildings and clouds that are far in the distance. And if I have a character, they'd have to be like really very small. But I was playing around with the idea of having some kind of like fish or something kind of swimming around magically. So it becomes more of a surreal sort of composition. So that's where I'm at. And also, I just figured out how to make it a brush. So you can see here, I've got lots of little tiny stars. And that's actually not from me drawing these stars a million times, but I just started creating a brush. And I can walk you guys through how I did that if that's of interest. But oops. It's easier than you think it is in Photoshop. So thanks to Angela and Fergie for saying that they like my keycaps. That's where I'm at. Today my focus is probably going to be, I want to add more details to the cityscape, figure it out a little bit, and I'd love to get some of y'all's thoughts. I'm just going to put this on the screen really quick. Here is a version without the cityscape, and here's a version with the cityscape. I'm trying to decide if I want to actually continue drawing in the city or if I want to make this more of like a nature kind of thing. And then that allows for more space and attention for the flying fish. So let me know if you have a preference. I think I'm going to try one of these. So yeah.
love the colors.
Cool. Nick, so I see that you are working on your tree line. It's cool to see how you approach that. So you're basically you're duplicating the triangle shape repeatedly, and it looks like you're adjusting the size, so it doesn't look super,
Yeah,
the
so
same.
it doesn't. Yeah, so it doesn't feel like it's just copy and paste, even though it is copy and paste. So that way
Yeah.
it feels a little unique. And then once I get kind of like a good, I mean, I'll still edit it and still refine it. But then I'll start going and creating like more of like these ridge lines where, so like there's like more of kind of like hills inside. And then I'll start adding trees there as well. So like that. And then I'll, keep building it up. So do more and more trees and more layers on top of that. But I try to group it so that way it's not too much of a mess. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's where I'm heading. It'll be fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking my star brush that I made, and I can go over that really quick if people are interested. Also, the show right before this is Kyle Webster's show, and he's like the brush master. So if you are interested in learning how to make brushes or use custom brushes, I think he has a really great show called Brush Hour where he talks a little bit about that. So yeah.
So dope.
Ooh, Celine has a question for you, Nick. Your drawing has a lot of details. This is a great question. And when do you know when to stop adding in your details?
Ooh, I don't think there's ever a moment where you can, stop adding details. I think that's kind of like the fun thing about like going on this journey of making something is figuring out like where is that thing that you feel fulfilled. So I guess when I stop adding details is when I feel fulfilled that I accomplished something, or I feel great that I made something that is a reflection of me or something that makes me feel happy. That's how I think about it. So, but I think everyone is different in approaching it. If I get stuck, I reach out to my friends and ask them for some thoughts, or ask my wife, and hopefully then I can figure out like, okay, if I just refine it here and here, then it'll feel more refined. So yeah.
What is
the journey?
Related to that, what is your like personal creative community look like? Everyone has a creative community, whether or not you are aware of it or not. That could be your friends who you say, hey man, can I get your like thoughts on my drawing really quick? Do you prefer the blue sky or the purple sky? Or that could be a coworker, fellow designer who, has maybe more of a technical eye that they're critiquing. But I'm curious like what your personal creative community, the people that you go to get their thoughts and opinions on this.
Yeah, I would say like my go-to for most things, and that's not even just applicable for just illustration, but in life in general, is I'll usually ask my wife, or I have some really close friends, Matt Helm and Mike Casebolt are like two of my good friends. I chat with them on a very consistent basis. My friend Marianne Nguyen, she's someone
she's
that
cool.
also,
I love her work. Yeah.
Marianne, she's so sweet, amazing, very wise. So like she's someone I consistently chat with. Even some
check
of
out her
my,
work.
like,
It's at Marianne Maids. I think it's her Twitter.
Yep.
Not sure if that's the same Instagram handle.
I think it is.
It is. Her work's super cool.
So good.
Really atmospheric.
Yeah. The way that she even like even just how she approaches illustration and how she thinks about color, and it just like real time refining and adding the vibrancy in a lot of her work is I don't know how she does it. I appreciate it. I love it. I wish I could do it, but I'm glad there's folks like her that share works like that in the world. I feel like she's just amazing. I think that's kind of like my main circle. Go ahead.
Okay. That makes sense. And if you're watching this live in the chat, I'm also curious, what are your creative peeps, creative circles? Because I think for some of us that's our coworkers, but I feel that for a lot of us who are on this like art journey, you change jobs, change circumstances, but that core group is still stays the same. So I'm just curious, who are those people that you have a go-to and you're like, hey man, can I have like 2 seconds of your time? What do you think about this? For me, I'd say my studio mates, some of whom are watching. So hey to Amy, as well as just close friends, and they don't have to necessarily be like art or design people. I think anyone who like cares about you and also has like a discerning eye can give really good feedback. Devin has a great question that I will also piggyback off of. So Devin wants to know, what drives you to be so prolific? Your level of output is so high. I think it's comparable to a independent artist's level of output. But people might not know that you also have a full-time job in a tech company. So how do you balance that? How do you approach that? This goes to what we were talking about before the stream, but what do you think fuels your impulse to create? Which is what Devin asked.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think, deep questions.
I think a lot of it just comes down to the fact that like getting to express myself is a very key thing, I think, as me as a person. And so I always look at opportunities and things I get to make either at work or after hours. And I always try to have an objective, something that like, what is something I want to learn today? Or what is something that's going to make me feel content with just making things?
Yeah.
And so, if I'm building iconography, I try to look at, okay, like how can I make this process easier, or how can I be more efficient, or or the different problems I can solve, and trying to identify that. If I'm going to make patterns, doing research and like be inspired by different types of patternry from all different like walks of life or from cultures, and like how can I be inspired by that and make those type of works, and then like see if I can actually replicate or build some of that stuff. I think it's just like the it's good to get paid and do the things that you really care about, but I think if you treat it as a passion and it's something that gets you up in the morning, and that fulfillment of like feeling like you're growing in your craft and as a person, I think that gets me really pumped. But I think also just like sharing things with my friends and seeing them get excited, and the encouragement they get, or the encouragement they give me, keeps me going. And I think also like my mother, she was an artist as well. And so, it's kind of like that thing I still carry along with me as well. So I think it's just, at the end of the day, it's all about having fun, enjoying the journey, enjoying the process. And if you get to share that with other folks, I think that's the part that makes it really rewarding. So
I love your perspective, Nick. It's so positive. I love it.
Yeah. PMA, positive mental attitude. Be the badass you're meant to be. As PMA. I like to say.
PMA with Nick. Positive mental attitude. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I mean, I feel the same way. I think that's all that it boils down to in the end. So I think I really love the way you make such very very sophisticated compositions, and the way you use a multitude of different colors. That type of work, and I guess like that creative energy that you're kind of like releasing out into the world gets me so pumped. Yeah, so I think it's just like, I think inherently when other folks do and produce works, you're in a lot of ways also inspiring other folks to like do the thing that they feel passionate. Because there's days where I don't feel like I want to draw, or there's days I don't even want to open my computer. And then when I get inspired and I see other people making exciting things, like I want to catch up. I want to be able to like share my work and see if they get excited about it. So that's a good question. Yeah, thanks, Devin, for asking it. I am seeing a question here from Jessica about how I got to make these pink and peachy clouds. That's a great question. So it's actually really simple. It's probably hilariously simple, and I'm sure there's more complex ways to go about doing it, but I am using this brush that I love. I unfortunately can't tell you where it's from because like 5 years ago, I renamed it to be called Lovely Brushy Brush So I have no idea what kind of brush it is. I'm pretty sure it's a Kyle brush. I think maybe some kind of paintbrush, obviously. But other than that, I don't know. But I just love the texture that it has. So if you can find a brush that, you know, has this sort of bristly texture, and then what I do is I lower the flow. So if you increase the flow all the way, you know, the brush it's just like flat color, but then if you lower it, it has more of that texture. So for the brush, for the clouds, I lower my paintbrush opacity to like not 90 or so. And then for the eraser, I lower that to like 40 or so. And then I'm just starting to, I just kind of like, you know, I don't know, try to make some cloudy shapes. It helps if you research clouds references and have a sense of what kind of cloud you're going for, because there are different kinds of clouds. I'm going for the like circly clouds. I don't know what they're called. If anyone knows, let me know. So, you know, I've got the basic shape, but it's a little bit too like digital looking, if that makes sense. So I'll then go in with my eraser. So I get that by pressing E, and then I kind of just, you know, fluff it out a little bit, start giving that little bit of that shape. And then, you know, I'll sometimes, you know, the clouds, they don't really have very consistent shapes, right? Sometimes it looks like a plane just flew through them. So this kind of got this like whooshy kind of look. So then I'll edit that. This is not refined at all. And then I think a big part of clouds actually is understanding the color of the sky. Because you could just do this actually and have like white clouds against blue, but if you want to do like layered clouds, it's pretty important to understand color, and because clouds have so many colors in them. If you really look at them closely, there's so many lights and darks. So what I then do is I'll throw a gradient on it. So let's say, you know, I've got that little gradient. I like to set my gradient tool. You can't really see it, but up on, if you hit G for gradient, you'll get a bunch of different options for gradient. And instead of linear, I do radial. And then I just like to experiment with different colors to throw on there. Then I'll just start layering them. So what you see here is just several cloud friends, happy little clouds layered. I've got a cloud up there too, but it doesn't look like one. So yeah, and then I'll just adjust it a little bit. I think I'll have to change my clouds up because I'm gonna add some flying creatures. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. Oh, thanks to Ken and Amy and Mike for sharing. It either is a lenticular cloud or a cumulus cloud. Thank you. So I think somebody suggested that I try making the buildings a little bit smaller. I agree, they were a little bit large. So I'm right now redrawing them a little bit, making them. You know what? When I'm talking about clouds, it reminds me of Bob Ross, and as he would say, you just got to draw some happy little clouds or sad clouds, depending on the vibe.
They say like after a rainstorm when there's no rain, or what was it, like clouds add color to life or something like that.
Oh yeah, okay, that's cool.
There's some quote, I can't recall it. I'll look it up, but there's a quote about like the fact that like, you know, you need to have rain in life because after the storms are gone, it leaves color and life, and it makes sunsets beautiful or something like that.
Yeah. Jessica says she'll have to explore the cloud brushes on their own. Yeah, totally. And you know who makes great cloud brushes that I love is Sid Weiler. They, I think, had their cloud brushes on Patreon. So just Google Sid, SYDW, and then like cloud brushes, and you'll probably see them. They're pretty good. They have like several different types of cloud brushes for different types of clouds. Nick, you know, I was going to ask you, both as an artist and as a human, what are some of your like dreams, big, wild dreams when it comes to your work or just your life in general? And I don't mean for this to be a high pressured question. I really am genuinely curious for everyone I talk to, basically it's like, what are your deepest motivations,
Deepest motivations.
I can share some dreams as well if you need some time to think, because I do realize it's a very vulnerable question.
Oh no, I think being vulnerable and talking about some of these things, I think at the end of the day, we're just people, and I think I think it's good to have some of these real conversations. For me, I think about it in this way of my goals is always try to be a compassionate and caring person and treat others the way I would like to be treated. I look forward to the day when I get to have, when or if I do ever have children. I think like looking and being excited about that new opportunity. Don't get me wrong, I love drawing, I love painting, I love doing the things I do, but I think there's other things on the horizon that, I think would be nice to pursue and starting a family or just doing something different. I always wanted to like have a ranch, like a rescue ranch. Yeah. There's a rescue ranch for animals. Yeah. Have a home where I could like give like old senior dogs like their best last years of their life.
Love it.
Yeah, I think that like, I don't know, I want to have, I always had made a joke about like, I want to open a ranch in Montana and it's a corgi rescue farm where, we like, have a foundation for like rescuing corgis, because we have 2 corgis, and one of our corgis blew out his ACL. Both of them, it's not called ACL. It's really expensive. So it's really expensive procedure. Most of the time, I don't think folks can afford it.
My dog just tore her Achilles, so I totally understand.
Yes. Yes. So it's not cheap. But like, and it's not even just, exclusively for corgis. It's all dogs in life. But I just want to like have like a rescue farm, where I could just like make things either, woodworking, painting, and just do the things that, I feel passionate about, and like have like a random cow named Cliff. And he has to be a pygmy cow. He has to be a little cow. He can't be a normal cow. The normal cows are fine, but I want a pygmy cow.
Cute.
So,
cow named Cliff. I love that. Yeah, I want to have goats on. I want to have a farm too, and I would like to have goats. Ooh. And I've already discussed this with Jeffrey at length, who's my boyfriend, who's also watching this right now. So I hope to have goats.
I love animals. When my mother was growing up, she had a pet monkey, and then they also had a pet deer that would come in and have breakfast with them. They had like a ranch.
Wow.
So they used to have tons of horses and cows and sheep, and they had a collection of like just random animals. I mean, obviously this was like back in like the late 60s, like early 70s, and where I grew up was like a very like small town.
In upstate New York, you said.
Yeah, upstate New York. I don't know. Animals have always been like a thing that's been really, I always get like teary eye. There was like this Frenchie I saw on Reddit. It's like a fluffy Frenchie. I've never seen a fluffy Frenchie in my life. And boy, they're so cute. I think, I don't know.
Love it. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. I think it's a good question.
Goals.
Yeah.
I think one of my goals is really similar to yours. Dreams. I would like to have a creative art space for artists.
Ooh.
It'd have to be independently funded, because I think I've known of a lot of creative spaces in SF that have folded because, lack of funds. So that, the artists got pushed out. So there'd have to be some kind of independent source of funding for that. But it's a creative art space for artists, and it's just a place where you can come hang out if you're a creative person. Maybe it's kind of like a cafe vibe, or like a, artsy co-working space. It's a place that you can hang out. There's a lot of like art equipment there. For example, you could have a Rezo machine, you could have a screen printing station. There could be a I have a really nice color printer that I use for my prints, but there could be one of those so people can do small runs of their projects instead of having to like manufacture, tons of stuff from other companies. So yeah, that's my little dream, little art space, art city. And yeah, I would just like for it to be a nice space for artists to hang out.
I like that. That sounds lovely. You should definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Devin says the passion pouring out of Nick when he talks about dogs. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Devin mentions Creative Cutie IRL. So Creative Cuties is a brand new Discord community that my friend Amy and I started. Amy's in the chat as well. And we started it. One of my inspirations for starting was actually because a couple of people asked me if I would ever create a Doodle Therapy Discord or community to connect with other doodlers outside of these streams. And so I hadn't thought about that, but Amy and I decided to team up and instead create a community space for different creative interests, which includes doodling and drawing, but also now it includes creative coding, hardware, 3D design, running a shop, talking about business, stuff like that. And it's all in this Discord community, which you can access at creativecuties.net. And it's a really, really wonderful place. I'd say it's probably my favorite place on the internet right now. And it feels like early days Twitter or like AIM chat rooms in high school, or even like Neopets in middle school, like Neopets guilds. It has this like really fun, warm internet vibe. So if you are a creative person who also loves cute things, feel free to join. It's a really nice space, nice people.
Is Neopets like Tamagotchi?
Oh like, yeah, Neopets was so I think Tamagotchi is like, they were like keychains, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Oh, if also I think Mochi, my dog, is a little sad. If anyone can hear that. So yeah. So Neopets was a website. It was like a web-based game that a lot of people, especially like if you were a teenager in the 2000s, people got really into it. There were different Neopets, so they're
interesting.
Yeah, there was a rare Neopet called a Poogle. It looked like a poodle. So, yeah. If anyone played Neopets on here, let me know in the chat. And also let me know what your favorite Neopet was. Mine was probably the poodle. But I did have a Lenny, which is like a tall bird, who's probably not happy right now because I haven't fed him in 10 years.
Interesting. Maybe I missed that window. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a really niche sort of thing. It was also like you could play a lot of games online. So if your parents were strict about letting you use the internet for that sort of reason, then probably I
mean
play it.
Like
my parents were very strict, so they didn't like Neopets. Yeah.
My mom. My mom, she wasn't strict, but we didn't have like a computer until like when I was in it's like what, 2006. Like we didn't have a computer at home or really internet, so we just used the internet or computers at school. When I went off to college, I had to buy a computer then, but yeah, I feel like I missed out on a lot of things. But that's cool though.
Yeah,
check that out. Yeah.
Neopets. Well, it has that kind of an interesting history, and if anyone watching also, knows more, feel free to chime in. But basically, like, it got really, really popular, and then they sold. But then I think they accidentally sold Neopets to like an organization with like a religious affiliation, but they weren't like fully aware or something of that. So then I don't know, there's some mismatch between the founders and the owners, and then but Neopets was really I think innovative by today's standards because they were one of the first games to feature like in-game marketing where like you didn't know that you were being marketed to, so instead of it being like McDonald's ad, here's an ad. It'd be like the McDonald's giving tree where you can like receive gifts from the tree, but it's like McDonald's branded.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think they've like relaunched it or something. Oh, and there are all these like really interesting problems with it. For example, you can find this if you Google Neopets inflation economy. Most games like have some kind of, economist or economy studying team. Neopets didn't, so they basically suffered from like massive inflation because every time you join Neopets, you like get Neopoints. Every time you play games, you get Neopoints. That's like injecting a ton of money into the money supply. And if you don't check that, then you have crazy inflation, which means that newer players, like the later that you join the game, the harder it is for you to catch up because the same like 200 Neopoints that you get when you join Neopets goes a lot less far than the people who have been playing for like 5 years and have been able to amass a lot of wealth by, putting it into the bank or whatever. So yeah, it's really fascinating. There's like many long form articles about the Neopian economy and inflation. That's my thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Interesting. I've learned so much today.
I've been waiting for this moment, you guys. I've just been waiting for this moment to share about my obscure Neopets knowledge.
Oh man, that's crazy. I like to at nighttime when I can't sleep. I like to do like Wikipedia dives and see where it takes me.
Ooh.
My favorite one so far has been the history and origin of apples and how the apples we have today are engineered. Like the Red Delicious, for example.
More.
Yeah.
I was just learning about bananas, how all the bananas are like genetically engineered or something that we have today. But yeah, please tell us more. I love this. Yeah.
So, the funny thing about bananas is that the original banana that was most prominent back in the day is actually not around. It's actually ceases to exist. So the banana that we have today, I think it's either there was diseases or it was just like bred out. But the banana that we have today, the gene pool of it is very limited to every banana that you have, say like South America, or if you go somewhere else, are the same type of banana. And so the thing that they're trying to hopefully do is create a little bit more diversity in the banana so that if there was to be a situation where there was a plague or some type of blight, there would be some variation in the gene pool that could survive. So with everything in life, the ecosystem is a very delicate system, and it's very easy for it to be affected. I mean, even look at bees, for example. But anyways,
or bees.
Bees.
Oh yeah, bees.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, you gotta love it. Came for the art tips, stayed for the banana facts, stayed for the fruit knowledge. I'm curious, do you know, was it always that bananas were extremely susceptible, bananas and apples and etc. were super susceptible to plagues? Or is it because of industrialization or something where we basically have like giant banana farms and there's not enough like eco diversity? Like, was this always a problem, or is this because because of us, basically? Modernization.
I think it could be possibly the fact that I'm not an expert in this, but what I could probably my assumption would be is that there wasn't as much knowledge or concern for biodiversity. So like if you look at say instances in some of the waterways in the United States, you have the Asian carp, and so when you introduce a species, I would assume that the probability is like there was some type of reason that they solidify on like one type of banana strain, and was either it grew faster or whatnot, yeah. I would have to go on Wikipedia and like read more about it.
Yeah. Forgive me if this is naive, and if anyone who's a banana expert might be like, psh, preposterous, but could they like just make more banana variants and then there wouldn't be just one and then there wouldn't be the problem of like the plague? Or is that very difficult to do? I don't know. If anyone knows the answer, let me know.
I wonder if you would have to have like some type of gene pool to like introduce that variant. I mean, because you have like plantains and stuff like that are kind of, you know, part of the same species, but not the same thing. But I'm sure that they're trying to, you know, add something to the banana. I mean, you look
Banana Republic.
I mean, yes.
Oh, sorry, that was my dad joke of the day. Pun, terrible pun. That's not even what it means. So, got it. And Amy says, a slight correction. The bananas in South America and Southeast Asia are genetically diverse and fine. It's only the ones that are hardy enough to import far away that have genetic issues. I see. So it's only the cloned bananas. Thanks, everyone. We've solved the mystery, just at least on the stream. So the bananas, because it seems like you have to transport bananas to get them from the farm to like the market. So those bananas are clones and they have this susceptibility to this issue. So thank you. Thank you, Amy. Yes.
Look at that. We learned so much today.
Yeah, about bananas. So sorry, I interrupted you because you were talking about apples, but is it similar for apples?
I don't think so, but a lot of the apples we have today originated from China. I think in the Tibetan region. I'll have to go back and read it. But the genealogy of the apple is like stem from cultivating crab apples. But a lot of apples we have today, like Red Delicious, and like the Empire State apple, or like the Gala, are actually very new compared to some of the like older apples. If you look at like watermelon, if you look at watermelon, like say like a couple hundred years ago, it didn't have like that round bulbous, all the pulp inside. It was, a very small amount. Yeah. So it's very interesting how even corn is, a derivative from grain. So it's kind of fascinating how over time things have changed. Kind of like how like art styles and stuff like that.
Yeah, bringing it back.
Yeah, we gotta come back full circle.
You gotta make it. Yeah.
So it's it's kind of interesting through altering and refining and over time perfecting the things that we have today, or even 5 years from now, or back then, it's very different. So
so you cannot say we have just about maybe 7 or so minutes for the stream. So if you've got any final questions to ask Nick as we round up our compositions, feel free to ask in the chat, or you can always check out Nick's work at Nick Slater Design, I believe, on Instagram, and you're at Slater Design on Twitter. So maybe Nick will finish this and post it at some point in the future, so you can follow him there and stay tuned for that. But Sam wants to know, how do we go about creating a strong composition when we start our landscapes and illustrations? And and Stephanie also asks, any tips on how to soften shadows in Photoshop? I'd love to get a little bit more context if you're talking about like the drop shadow feature, or if you're just talking about you painted in a shadow and you're trying to soften them. So let me know, Stephanie, what you mean. But to answer Sam's question, if you guys check out day 1 of our stream, we talked a little bit about that, where we started color blocking out from the sketch. And you'll be able to see, I think as you watch the playback, the way that we approach color blocking out and then adding the details. So I hope that's helpful. I love the topic of what are some random facts that like, what are random Wikipedia deep dives that you've gone on recently?
Oh man,
so many. I read I go to longform.org, which is a compilation of all of the latest long form journalism stories, and I really enjoy reading those. There's so many great stories there.
I think my favorite, if I had to pick one, I follow this YouTube channel, Kurtstock, I think it's called. And they talk about all different types of things of science, and like if you were to take a nuclear weapon, blow up on the moon, like what would happen? Like I like watching things like that to get me, one, visually it's amazing, and two, just like the facts and knowledge they share is great to hear. If I had to pick, I probably spent like an hour or two reading about the lineage of oh my God, is it Queen Mary? I think it was the last Scottish Queen. I think it was called. I think that's her name. I'll have to go back and read about it. But I love history.
Queen of Scots.
Queen of Scots. Thank you.
Yes.
So I read that was one, and also like the oh my God, it's always like random stuff too, like different types of clouds. I know we talked about that earlier, but there's like all different types of like weird clouds, depending on like the air current underneath the cloud will create like a certain type of web effect, stuff like that.
And just with our hey to Nick's dog Thor, I think.
That's it.
Oh, what a cutie! Should we get Mochi over here? Mochi, you want to come over here? To answer your question, Stephanie, one way you can soften shadows a little bit is you can go to your layers panel, which I'm pulling up here. And then down here, you've got these cool, effects that you can do. So just click on this, circle with that's half filled, and then hit levels. And that allows you to adjust the darks and the lights in the piece. And this is also a great way to also adjust your illustrations if you feel. For example, when I look at this illustration, it has the opposite problem of what you're talking about. I think that the colors are too dull. So I can, try to punch it up a little bit by adjusting the adjustment layers. But if you feel like it's too harsh, the shadows and stuff, then you can always, adjust those midtones or brights down a little bit. So I hope that's helpful.
That's wicked.
Yeah. Amy says Mary, the Queen of Scots, is very fascinating from a cryptology point of view because her downfall was not sending her messages securely enough.
Really? Ooh.
Yeah.
Is there like a wiki, like it's like a source where I can read about this later?
I don't know. Well, I'm not sure why her reign ended, but maybe it has to do with that. And hey, it's Mochi. Does Mochi want it? Mochi, come here.
Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna get my dog too. Oh, she's confused. Hey, Mochi, come here. Yeah. Guys. Okay, sorry. We've got our little friend here, Mochi, as well.
Oh. Love it.
Love it. So, I think I am going to commit to drawing the large fish in the sea. I think it could actually look really cool. Because I think my main concern was, this is my mood board that I reviewed yesterday, and my inspiration is coming basically from Sailor Moon anime backgrounds.
I love Sailor Moon.
Yeah, it's inspired a generation of artists for sure. And I think that this is going in a cool direction if I didn't add the fish, but it looks a little bit maybe generic to me. Like it doesn't scream that it was like something that I worked on. So I think just by adding in some more characters, it feels a little bit more personal. And that's generally, how I like to work on and finish my pieces. And also thanks to Sam for putting in my Instagram and Twitter handles. I'm at @BayaAliceLee if you'd like to connect on the internet. You can also check out creativecuties.net or our Discord. It's a warm and wonderful place. And Nick is also at Nick Slater Design or Slater Design on Twitter. So Nick, we've got a minute left. Could you maybe zoom out and share your full piece so we can take a look at it and we can just kind of do end of day 2 side by sides, still work in progress, but exciting stuff. I'm gonna group my fish.
Let me just hide all this nonsense in the background, I feel better. I feel better today about it. it's all.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think it came out okay. It wasn't too bad.
Guys, let's give Nick some encouragement. It came out amazing. So
yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Nick, for joining us. It's been amazing to talk to you. You're such an encouraging person. Positive mental attitude, PMA with Nick. Doodle Therapy will be on every other week from now until the end of the end of May. So our next streams are going to be on March 10th to 11th at the same time in the afternoon. We're going to be featuring an amazing artist. And I believe that week it's like International Women's Week. So, we're going to bring on a really talented, artist, and I'm super excited for it. So thanks to everyone for joining us, and a special thanks to Nick Slater for, sharing your knowledge, showing us your dogs, explaining bananas. It's been awesome, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.